What's going on, guys? Welcome. Two Guys and a Bard, your favorite Wednesday night cocktail hour. Boys, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. It's been a hectic week for me personally, just a lot of real life stuff going on, but glad to be back at it. Got a couple days off here, a couple days to focus on ashes, testing and content. So,
Nice. How
Yo,
about you, Super?
anybody got some New World? Can I
oh,
Yeah.
can I get some?
Anybody
Can I
cuss?
can I get some of that New World?
Get some
I'm
New
out of New World, man. I haven't played in like 5 days. Crazy.
I need some of that New World, yo. Let's go.
Y'all get any more of that? um,
well, let's go around the horn real quick. What are we drinking? Let's start with you, Bardic.
I've got the usual Manhattan, but tonight I made it with our single malt whiskey, so it's kind of got an earthy, chocolatey flavor. It's pretty good.
Nice. How about you, Super?
Good old dad water.
Dad water, our favorite super drink of all time.
It's kind of like
When are we-
it's kind of like streamer bath water, but dad water.
You know the
Dad
funny
water? Do you
thing?
sell it?
The funny thing is that there are a lot of dads that when they say dad water, they mean the opposit of what you mean.
Opposite of actual
I
water.
need some dad water, which
I
is
need some
beer.
dad
Cheddar.
water.
Yeah, it's some beer, something like that. But you're a good dad, and Super Wife is here checking up on you.
It's always good. She's got to keep an eye on you. You know, that's smart. That's smart. And I'm doing St. George. Unfortunately, all the ice is melted, but a gin and tonic with St. George's Terroir Gin from here in the Bay Area.
Nice.
Good stuff tonight. But let's just kick it off. Let's just dive into it because I know everybody's thinking the same thing. We kind of talked a little bit before the show. We're all thinking the same thing, guys. Ashes of Creation testing. How much testing did you all do in the last little 4-day weekend cycle? Asked
Big
and answered.
Big
Okay,
old goose egg there.
zero.
I mean,
Good
I had a lot of real life stuff going on too. I haven't played really any games, as I'm sure Thane was telling me. I haven't seen you in like 4 days. I just had a bunch of real life stuff going on. But yeah, even like I was gonna try and get in at least do a day or two of testing this weekend, and it just New World and everything going on with that, and other free time. Yeah, everyone only has so much time with what they want to do, and the new shiny thing in the room, which as we've joked about a bunch, it is New World. And I mean, I haven't even logged in, as I said, but if in my free time I have spent that in New World when I could. And
Yeah.
I think part of it is you just want to play with your friends, right? And so when everyone else has easy access to New World and they're playing that, it's very easy to let something like Ashes of Creation, where only people who've spent $500 get in, and then also you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it's, as I said, we're all still here. We all still are 100% Ashes, right? There's nothing that has not changed. It's just I guess the question is, right? We wanted this NDA drop. We're now in this month-long test, and the new shiny thing isn't so shiny anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that it's at least I found I did play a little bit and I did try to stream it as well. And honestly, I got 3 hours into the stream and realized I was having more fun when a new viewer would stop in and ask me a question about the game. And when I was having more fun bringing up the wiki and theory crafting and explaining this game that I'm so passionate about than actually being in the game right now. And it's definitely in a tough spot. Super, what you got zero in, Super? Is that because of dad duties or are you just not interested anymore?
I mainly what you guys had mentioned. I mean, Virtue's got a pretty decent presence within New World. So we got some people playing over there. Grumpy guy actually picked up the game, and he's the sourpuss of the group, and he actually likes it. So, it was a little bit surprising. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it comes down to essentially a released game, because this is more of a marketing beta than actually a beta. IMO.
Mhm.
Um, which is fine. But it's
Even though they
something
still
to.
have plenty of issues.
Oh, absolutely. But the issues that I see are like not stuff that's going to get fixed by the end of August. So I think we're kind of looking at the release version of the game, with
Mhm.
some tweaks here and there. Death running, death spawning should hopefully get tweaked. But anyways, um, I mean, I come back to what I've been saying like literally the last 2 or 3 weeks with Ashes, and that's if we were given a little bit more direction on testing, if we were given a little bit more visuals on progress, it would feel a lot better as a tester.
Mhm.
Right now, even without New World being out, I have felt a little bit of a burnout. And if there's anything that I've learned in testing is the moment you start to feel burnt out, you need to take a break. Because
Yeah.
if you feel burnt out in testing, then you won't be an effective tester. And if you burn yourself out too much, you won't even want to play the game when it goes live. And so it's a balance. You have to be careful. Obviously, it's a little bit different for me. I'm not like full time, content creating like you guys are. Um, but even I mean, I've told you guys, I think on and off stream, just be careful. Don't
Yeah.
go so hard that you end up hating it. Don't turn your hobby into a hatred.
And it's interesting, right? And we've had this discussion off stream, Thane, myself, a bunch of other fellow content creators. We talked about it a little after the stream last week, which was, well, what does Ash Secretion and Intrepid expect from us, those of us who want to be official content creators? And I am very much of the philosophy you are, where it's like, I think anything is balanced. I don't. I mean, I think Intrepid in general is very understanding of that aspect. They know what burnout is. They're very aware of it. That's Burnout isn't just something that happens within game testing, right? It's something all over in real life in general. Like I mean, for Fane, who's worked in the restaurant industry, anyone else, like you know what it's like to go through a holiday season in the restaurant industry. You're just freaking nuts, and everything is happening, and like the rest of the year, everything will go smoothly. Everyone will be happy. January 1st rolls around, everyone is mad at each other. Everyone has some kind of like, everyone's just burnt out. That's what it is. And I think it's about finding a good balance. So even like there are times to go really hard, like right on the launch, I think of the month long and like when everyone was hyped about it, the weekend long, that was the time to get your hours in. Now I'm definitely taking somewhat of a step back. I still want to produce a lot of Ash's content, but I want to be careful and make sure that I'm still hyped for this game, especially on release. Like that's the biggest thing is making sure on release this game is what we hoped it would be, right? I mean, there is something to be said for the journey leading up to it, but I want that month to 2 months on release of just absolute pure joy, right? We've all experienced it. That's kind of what we're seeing in New World now, where I don't think that pure joy will last a month or two. I think it's going to last maybe a month, maybe less for some people. But that's kind of the idea is making sure you do what you need to do in life and in terms of your own enjoyment, and then still maintain. And that comes back. We talked about it last July? I think it was July a year ago after the Lazy Peon video, right? Well, we just had so much hype. What do we do now? So
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Maybe one of you guys has it, but I think it's just
I
being
I,
okay with
I
those
think I
train
think
or
it
waves.
I mean, just in the, New World versus Ashes thing right now. It's not fair to compare the two, right? Because one's
Mhm.
literally in a true alpha and the other one's in a marketing beta. So,
Yeah.
like, making a straight comparison isn't 100% fair. That being said, it is literally content versus no content. And
Mhm.
Ashes isn't in a content phase. So it's
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where it's all like, I really hope Intrepid understands because if they start, it behind closed, and I don't think they're doing this. I really hope they're not doing this, but like, if they're behind closed doors getting pissed at people who are applied for content creator playing New World instead of doing Ash's stuff, it's like, what do you expect? Like, we understand that this is not a content alpha, like we truly do, but there's only so much you can do. Or there's only so much you can do, and there's only so many times you can do it. Like that's so
Yeah.
it's just at a certain point, and we had talked about it a little bit last week. I think they need to consolidate to a server because I think their testing numbers are probably struggling a little bit right now because of all the people playing New World. That will eventually die, but unfortunately, I think what will happen from that fallout of New World having been right in the middle of this month is people are going to see content and then they're going to come back to Ashes and just kind of be like, I might just hold off for A2 or B1 or."
Mhm.
Like, it is really hard to test games without content. I know.
Yeah.
I
Um,
100% know, but
Without
and
content or direction, right?
that
That's
that's
because that's
that's
the big thing. If
yeah.
you said, "Get us in," run every single siege, I would be sitting there and say, "Okay, I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get up to level 12. I'm gonna get my gear. I'm gonna go into the siege, and I'm here to test every siege cycle that happens. I'm gonna run around. I'm gonna do all of that." But even now, I mean, they had specific siege testing prior to the NDA releasing, and they put us in, and we had no issue hitting that at least 80 versus 80, right?
mhm.
Versus now, we're seeing sieges where people are like, "Yeah, it was 2 versus 5." Right? Where you're not even testing things like these dragons that are in the siege area. You're not testing a lot of it. And I was thinking about this because it is hard. It's very hard to create Ashes content right now. I even think that it might have a negative ROI. I think that in this moment, creating Ashes content might not have the eyes on it for the growth you're trying to see. So, I was thinking about this, and obviously with the numbers going down and them needing numbers, right? That's the big thing with testing. You need numbers. They did all sorts of smoke tests. Their smoke tests were fine. And then we got in and we broke the game. So with the fact that they need numbers, my question is kind of like, so do you guys think that they should implement some sort of reward system for testers? Possibly based on things you
Um,
achieve in testing, possibly based on the hours you're putting into testing.
I guess the big thing for me is I think they're fine with where they're at. I don't think they necessarily need that many more testers. They know what's wrong and they know what's broken and they're working to fix it, right? Um, they're not necessarily just stress testing right now. They're in there fixing the bugs, and we are seeing the fixes getting updated. They have posted regular patch notes, which is good. They're not super detailed. It's not like a finalized product. It's not like moving from one build to the next in a released game where people want to know every little nitty gritty detail, the exact numbers that are going up and down. I think it's fine with right where we're at. Um, I think it's easier to create content right now than it was before. Yes.
You
At
have more
least you can,
assets, at least,
yeah, you have
right?
more
There's a lot more
assets.
assets.
Yeah, you can get into the game and create content. I don't think anything has really changed other than the fact our perception of it, right? Because of the fact that now we're in there testing. I think the issue right now literally is just New World. It's the fact that we don't have the numbers. So like the stuff I do want to do in Ashes of Creation is like getting in and testing this end game stuff. I want to test I want to get in and do the Dragon Rage and the Siege testing. And unfortunately, like people are more interested in New World because it has content. That's the thing. We've all done this siege testing in Ashes and it gets reset. There's nothing new. So I have an interesting thought, and super. This is something you said before. I don't remember if you actually said this on the show or not, but you had this idea that they might add in, say, Ranger or some new actual content for the last week of testing. So the last week of testing lines up with the end of New World. I think it's a genius idea, assuming they can get a proper build in to switch all that hype after the New World ends right back to Ashes. I think if they do that, that's amazing. Like that's what they should do, right? They knew New World was going to be hype. They knew a lot of people were going to be focused on it. And I'm sure New World purposely, targeted these dates, knowing that Ashes was doing their month long during this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see them targeting. I feel like because we what was the bullet that was being dodged? Was it back in March? Was
That
it
was
the
the BC release, Burning
right?
Crusade.
Okay, yeah, the WoW stuff. Okay. Um, so yeah, I mean, New World definitely could have targeted it. I mean, I do believe it was on stream. I think it was our first stream because I was all like, "Hold up, official statement, official guess." Rangers coming out the last week. Like, just nothing tells me that that's actually going to happen. I just think it would be
Mhm.
an amazing time for it to drop because this number drop off, even without New World, would happen.
Yeah.
And I can't say 100% if it would be to the same degree. I mean, there's probably plenty of argument to say that it wouldn't be to the same degree, but this type of number drop off is just going to happen,
Yeah.
especially with unpaid testers, especially pay to test testers. Um, so you're going to have a little bit of drop off, especially if people aren't feeling like. And again, it's not content, that's understood, but that doesn't change the human psyche. That doesn't change gamers. Um, they're going to want to play content. If there is no content, they will go where the content is. Whether that be New World, whether that be WoW, whether that be Minecraft, whether that be Hello Kitty fucking Island Adventure. Like it doesn't like wherever there's content, that's where the gamers typically want to be. You can only test for so long without, kind of getting to a point where it's like, all right. But I agree, and not just because I predicted it. It doesn't even have to be Ranger, but I think if Intrepid drops something big this last week, big might be perspective, but I think Ranger would be pretty huge. I think Fighter would be pretty huge. Um, if they drop something within the last week that basically says, "Hey, doors are open, arms are open, come back in. We're still here for you." I think that that would be a good move. I just predict Ranger because
Yeah.
we've technically seen Ranger before for about 30 seconds before the servers imploded. Um,
Yeah.
um, but it's they definitely need something to kind of, you know, keep that train rolling. That's the problem with the hype train is when you lose steam quickly. And
Mhm.
you gotta keep fueling that machine or else it just
But
kind of
I
dies down.
guess is there anything wrong with it dying down, right? As soon as they
No, I
start
don't
doing
think so.
content testing, people come back.
Yeah.
That's fine. The
They just
real
need to be sorry, just to jump in, they just need to
yeah.
be more effective with their current testers. So if anybody has been testing Ashes and has not left New World, they've been testing Ashes every day that they have been able to. Hats off to you. Intrepid, I'm talking directly to you. Utilize your testers better. Consolidate to a single server, get the numbers that you need on at least one server because we have people spread out. There are still like I know Virtue's on one server, Axiom's on another. They're like if there are testers, just put out a message saying, "Hey," or just close down the other servers. Like, like you don't even have
Yeah.
to. And if you want to test siege testing, then open up a separate server where you actually boost people, and then just close. You don't have to wipe it. Just close that server when you're not planning on doing siege testing, and then have people who are on the leveling server where they're actually doing the questing and you're getting your data from the server side. Have that be over there. If you want mini content tests, have a specific server for it. I understand that that doesn't directly correlate. Like sometimes you need the data of everything being leveled and then also implementing siege into that. But, if
Yeah.
that's the goal, give us direction. Tell us what we need to do. Just saying, "Hey, get in there and play and kill stuff," that feels bad as a tester. So please give us more direction.
And it's
Yeah.
it's interesting because I said, what was it, like 3 weeks ago? I was like, oh man, I want a persistent test where we actually get in and the work we've done matters for siege testing. It's not just everyone gets leveled up or you're on the same scale. It's like, no, all the work I put in to grind up to level, to get certain gear, to do that freaking 8 hour long quest or whatever it is. Um, I was just saying like how I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted that stuff to matter. And now I'm coming and sitting and looking back and be like, oh, maybe I was wrong there. But a lot of that also has to do with New World being right in the middle of it. I think too many people were pretty ready to go on New World. Um, I will say I wouldn't worry about New World, at least from what I have seen in terms of long term. I think I said it in my most recent video, but I think the success of New World, people being interested in enjoying it is great. I don't see the longevity though. And that's just
Yeah.
going to convert people to Ashes, which, let's be honest, like Ashes and New World are very similar games in terms of some of what they're doing. I mean, New World is more similar to Ashes than any other MMO out there that I'm familiar with, at least, in terms of like the world evolving and taking over towns and cities and all that kind of stuff. At least for modern MMOs. And so I think if New World is successful and people are actually enjoying it, that's a huge sign for Ashes to be like, okay, these people want a game like Ashes, but there's just not enough in, for example, New World to keep them going. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue, right, with New World? That's the barrel that we're all staring down is that it took them a year to add in the little bit of PvE content we see now. There's no way that when this game's life cycle in 45 days or so ends, that they're gonna be able to iterate on enough PvE content to keep it going. It's gonna be a game that people are gonna end up coming back to in 6 months when the next expansion or patch is released.
It depends on how much the cosmetic shop makes them. Honestly, I mean, if they
That's true.
if they see income, they're going to pump out content. I guarantee it. I mean, they're a big company, and if they see dollar signs, then they will do it. Um, so I mean, I think the life cycle is a little bit longer for New World. I'm thinking that servers will start to die down around 3 months in, like actually start to die down, not just like player drop off, but like
mhm.
people like actively saying, "Hey, I'm done." Um, then which is why, selecting your server at the beginning is going to be very important. Not being on a streamer server, not being on an already dead server in beta testing, like making sure you find a good server. um for example, I mean, we're on a dead server on beta testing. Like, it's not empty, but we have no queue time. And going into a game like New World, me personally, I'm looking for a server with queue times,
Yeah.
because even as annoying as queue times are, it means the server will be populated. So about 3 months till we see that. And then I think the 6 month mark, if we really are not, if we haven't heard about anything new, or if we haven't seen anything new, that's when they might be burying themselves.
I
Um,
guess the question is, what do you see happening with New World? Do you see it being like World of Warcraft raiding, where people just log in for the siege, the
yes,
big event,
Yeah.
and that's all that happens?
eventually, yes.
I think that'll happen within a month of the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
whoa,
they
No,
I
need
guess,
to get
no,
the
I
you know,
agree. I think it'll just tide people over for a little bit.
yeah, and I do want to reserve my judgment because, as mentioned by some people and all that, like they have a lot extra, right? We've seen the data mine map. The data mine map is, I mean, what the current map is either a third to half the size of the full data mine map. We don't know how long that's planned for. We don't know what they have planned. In terms of weapons and having a bunch of new weapons that they can release, to me, it feels really weird to not have all the weapons on launch. I d- how do you like yeah, how do you say, "Oh, with this patch, we're adding in this weapon"? It's like that's like so weird. Like all weapons, all combat should be a part of the base game, and then you make iterative fixes to make it maybe make something more popular or more stronger so that it's more viable. It just feels super weird to add in like also what's the lore reason? That's what kills me. Why the fuck does
Oh
a
yeah.
new weapon come in
There's
out of nowhere? Like
yeah,
what?
there's
Well,
no
I mean,
lore reason, right?
I feel like that's actually kind of easy. I mean, especially as the other half of the map unveils, it could be like, oh, hey, we found this ancient text that talks about this power. Like, I feel like that you can lore. That's the thing about like many lore things, is they can just be
Yeah.
implemented. Like it,
A magical wizard made this stuffed bear a mount
yeah,
for you, so
exactly.
now you can have
Like
it.
what, jump up and down 3 times and flick the tip of the wizard's hat, and now you can milk a cow and get banned. Um, so, you can always implement lore in some way, but um, obviously when it's like big overarching stuff, I mean, talked about it earlier, the issue with the death running, the death spawning right now. Where that's lore breaking, that's game breaking. Like
Yeah.
that's fucked up. Honestly, like they need to address that, and more so than just rolling people back. They need to fix that before launch. Like, that is a major issue right now. It's causing
So
people to max level in like 4 or 5 days.
go over what death spawning is for everyone,
So
myself included, because
in
I'm
New
not
World,
familiar with it.
in New World, so the phrase death spawning is essentially, instead of respawning, you're death
Oh yeah.
spawning. So you're purposefully dying. That way you can respawn at a designated location. In New World, if you place your camp in particular places around the world, you can basically be in the middle of like 3 or 4 different major towns. So your
Mhm.
run back is basically 5 minutes instead of 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can just consistently do that. There's no cooldown timer on it. It's like 30 seconds or something like that. But I mean, come on. Um, but basically what people are doing is are running from town to town, picking up all the mission boards, like literally, because you can pick up, I think it's like 50 mission board quests, town quests.
Mhm.
Getting all the easy ones, all the hemp ones, all the kill the rabbits, the turkeys, like just all the really simple ones. Then death spawning to whichever location they need to go to, do it, death spawn back. Like they're running around naked. That way they A die faster and B don't get the negative effects of your gear getting destroyed while when you die. And just turning in these quests, just nonstop on end. It's the most boring it's the most boring way to level. I looked at it, I saw it, and I said, I'm not doing that. Not because I see it as an exploit, but because it looks boring as shit. Um, and so that's essentially what's going on right now. And we actually talked about it in Discord earlier, what some potential fixes would be, and yeah, I don't necessarily think we need to go down the rabbit hole on that, but that's just, I mean, that's the glaring thing in New World right now is they need to fix that or their leveling system is screwed on launch.
Well, and I want to go back to what Bardic was talking about with these, these data mined weapons that they're planning on releasing down the road at some point, whether that's launch or later. I think that is essentially like it's the same concept as releasing a new class because there are no classes in this game and your class is your weapon. So they're just sort of holding things back so that oh, we start to see numbers drop off. Let's add in this weapon. Oh, the numbers are dropping off again. Let's add in this because there's a certain percentage that will always come back to the game to level up that weapon as quickly as possible and figure out is this the best weapon in the game? Is this secretly broken? Can I take advantage of this while that's happening?
And I think I mean that goes back to basically the cash shop issue of quality of life fixes for the cash shop, where it's like you're artificially creating these quality of life issues. Um, and that's kind of what it comes down to is instead of just making a quality product that people want to play, you are trying to game the system. You're trying to be a business and focus only on winning, right? It comes down to that min max aspect of a MMORPG. Like that's what we do as players, and it's what people want to do in general. But you need to fight your nature because it comes down to the fact that too many people want a quality product. And they will flock to a quality product regardless. And that's the thing is it's not this idea of abuse, like make as much money off of your consumer as possible. It's the idea of that mom and pop shop that is give a quality customer experience and they'll be there for you and they will have loyalty back, right? That's the other thing is build a brand loyalty. Don't just try to make a bunch of money. And that's why we all flock to Ashes. It's what Steven has talked about. We'll see what happens, after Ashes is a huge success. The company is doing well. If they still abide by that philosophy is take that money and put it back into a quality product. But it's just, and when it's that obvious and upfront that that's what they're doing, and especially nowadays, because back in the day, people didn't really, they're they're looking at and analyzing this stuff from stuff that just kind of fell into something. It was like, oh, we made a bunch of money doing this. And now they're like, okay, well, let's analyze every single product and make a bunch of money doing what we're doing. It's like, well, Amazon, take a step back, especially with your first fucking game. Make a quality product, please. Like, stop.
Make something good so we can actually get the Lord of the Rings MMO that you were working on.
Yeah,
Let's go back to that. Like, make something good. Make your flagship thing, and then start doing crazy.
That's how Amazon was so successful. The customer experience. That's why we all bought Amazon Prime. That's why we all supported Amazon, even when they were getting massive. We're like, okay, well, I can return anything I want to. I get free shipping. Everything is just easy for me. You've made the customer experience fantastic. Thank you, Amazon. Now they're retracting all that. I mean, they're obviously making money. And now it's like, instead of 2-day guaranteed shipping, they're like somewhere between 2 and 16-day guaranteed shipping. And you're like, wait, I'm paying for Prime. What the fuck am I paying for right now? Like,
you're paying for your free sub. Wink, wink, nudge.
Yeah.
But
Amazon Prime.
Amazon early, like when they bought Zappos, and I remember reading this article, if you selected 2 to 5 days standard shipping, which was free back then, they would still pay to send it in 1 to 2 days.
Yep.
and that built that customer loyalty.
Yes.
We're not seeing the gaming industry taking these 1 to 2 days. Instead, all we're seeing are big issues where I will say it, I'm fully turned off from some companies. I mean, like Riot and their history, Blizzard's history that is now coming to a head. Finally, the reckoning is coming. I'm turned off from these companies because I don't want to support what you believe in, and also the games you're producing are not enjoyable. They're not enjoyable in the long term. So I'm not even going to take it as a game to play. So with these big developers kind of breaking down, I think we're actually in a pretty good spot for these indie developers to sneak in there to provide that really good product to get that customer loyalty. Because right now, I would love for a developer that I was super loyal to. I would kill
Well,
for a developer I was super
here's the
loyal to.
key: is what we need that indie developer that is hugely successful, like Blizzard in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
late 90s. Um, they were that indie developer. They were amazing, but then they sold out and became what they became, right? And obviously now it seems like there's a mass exodus from Blizzard. People absolutely hate everything they stand for. They hate their games. They hate being abused. It just like I am curious to see what the next couple quarters of profits are going to look like for Blizzard. But we need a game or a game company to be massively successful and then actually change the industry by being
Mhm.
successful and continuing to use those indie developer values of let's make a really good product. Let's not just focus on absolute pure max profits. Like there's something to be said for just slowly always growing, right? It's your safe stocks versus your pink slip stocks. Like, yeah, you might make a bunch of money and you might be super successful, or you might piss a bunch of people off. Who knows? Um,
Well, and talking about stocks, the second a company has an IPO, I get very concerned about it
yeah.
because I know that the second you have an IPO, your values changed. The values that got you to the place where you have enough backing to have an IPO completely change.
No.
Right? You're now a company that you yeah, I want to take care of my players, but I've got board members and shareholders to take care of too.
Well, it's also why did you have an IPO? If you're a successful company, you don't need an IPO. Period. It's a cash grab. That's
Yeah.
what an
It's a cash grab
IPO
for the
is.
executives. Yeah.
100% a cash grab.
Like
Yeah.
you don't, yeah. I mean, there's no like you look at a lot some of the biggest companies in the world. They're not public companies. You like they're a very successful company, billion-dollar companies without ever going public, and they're like, well, we don't need to. When you do an IPO, you're basically, yeah, doing a cash grab.
I would love to start seeing like private IPOs in the gaming industry. So a private equity offering where you offer the fans of your game a monetary amount that is capped, right? And that way you can't have some venture capitalist swing in and buy it all up and own 10% of the company. But what if the fans actually what if WoW
If you have
had
a
said,
subscription, you can buy up to X value
Green
of.
Bay Packer thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
$100.
yeah,
That would be
exactly.
super cool, actually. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and,
that
and,
would
and
be
that was
awesome.
that was the iterative thing that I was going to talk about. Like it's true across sports, but I think you see it a lot in professional football. In the NFL, you have first rights to the seats that you've held season tickets for, and those things are literally passed out. People in their will are like, I don't really care which kid gets the car, but this son, he definitely has the rights to my season tickets, and that's passed down to the next one. And so I think that's how you build multi-generational interest. Like I will, and to delve a little bit into my personal life, because and I think this is a big thing that comes back to all companies. So my girlfriend works for a men's fashion brand and they sell
I'm
suits.
getting a bunch of
And
free stuff, apparently.
I've got a box full of Bardick's free shirts ready to go. And I put the PAX bags in there, or the badges in there. So I'm like, all right, they're all in there. But one of the big questions that they're asking as a company is suits are less required in the workplace now. Suits are becoming extremely formal. How do we still maintain our brand and get this next generation to see it and to want to come in and buy it when the 20 somethings 30 somethings are like, yeah, I can walk in jeans and a hoodie into my job. They don't care as long as I do my job, right? So
I'm also
it's how
gonna
do I
take
stay
that back and
relevant?
say I love wearing a suit. Like,
I
like,
I love wearing a suit, but if I had to wear a suit every day to work, I
yeah.
don't think I would like it as much anymore. I like wearing a suit because it's a special occasion. I feel great. We're all set up and ready to go. But it's the relevancy topic,
Hmm.
right? How do
Yeah.
you stay relevant to your fan base, first of all, right? Yeah, and I think that's the question that's being missed. Staying relevant to your fan base, staying relevant to your customer base versus being loyal to your shareholders and board members.
I mean, I think people a lot of people don't realize longevity, right? I think Blizzard was sitting there thinking, "Oh, we're too big to fail." And now they might actually fail. Like it's not looking good. They have no new games coming up. The only thing they have like is a new WoW expansion and Diablo 2 Resurrected. That's
A
all.
new WoW expansion that's been met with bad reviews, right? So if I'm a WoW player for them, I bad reviews, and they a really pushed back first patch that is just more rinse and repeat. And then, if you're an Overwatch player, Overwatch 2, which isn't the game you want, and the esport is dying. StarCraft, I mean, I'm sure it's still big in some sectors, but it's
What
it,
game? What game?
exactly, exactly.
StarCraft is still pretty huge in Korea.
In Korea, it's still pretty huge, right? In the same way that
But
CS:GO is still
yeah,
pretty huge, right? It's
Yeah.
the golden standard until
but
somebody
they
comes
don't
along
make
and makes a
money.
better
Yeah,
one.
they don't make money off of StarCraft. There's no sub. There's no cash shop. It's literally just people are playing it as an actual sport. It's like
Yeah,
basketball. Like you don't make much money off of selling basketballs, right? Some like they
yeah.
make some money, but it's not like you're getting a bunch of people and you're selling making millions of dollars off of selling a basketball. It's like no. At this point, it's just a game people play as a competitive aspect, test their metal against someone else. Um,
Well, soon
and
Hearthstone's going to be their biggest IP here soon. I mean, and
it,
that's
And
is
that's
it
saying
not
something.
already? Like, yeah, WoW was their biggest IP, and that's basically, I mean, Hearthstone and WoW go hand in hand. But also
Yeah,
on
I
that
mean,
note, Ashes TCG compete.
Steven, if you ever see this, the three of us have stayed up for hours talking about how to perfectly do both an integrated and real life TCG. Hit us up. We will literally give you the idea for free, and you can just send us some booster boxes that we'll even open on stream. We've got
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
you. Don't even worry about
But
it.
please also make sure they're first editions. Please bring back first editions.
no,
'Cause
fuck that. I want Steven edition. I want an S in that bottom
Yes,
left.
okay, that's
I
fine.
want
But
Steven
what I'm
edition.
saying is like I don't
Understandable.
like that Pokemon and most other card games went away from first edition stuff. I think that's
I
dumb.
agree.
I think there
I
should be that aspect of yes, we got in on the first edition. It's I yeah, I don't know. But yeah, first edition, couple booster boxes. We'll talk your ear off. We've
Oh, yeah.
only got like 10 hours plus to talk about it.
Yeah, we've got it perfectly set up for you. You just find some art people, and that's the thing. They have Intrepid has amazing art people, right? They have
Mhm.
a plethora of
this
concept art.
it literally could be fan done. Like the amount of
Mhm.
talented artists within the Ashes community is actually insane.
Yeah.
And I think it would be extremely awesome to have fans come in and like create like
Yeah.
five
No,
like card arts or
the
something like
The
issue
that.
to
royalty that would build.
Exactly.
the issue to figure out is how the game actually plays. And you want a
Mhm.
really fun competitive game. This is something super you have told me, and it's something I've latched onto is I don't know how Pokemon has done it because they're playing Pokemon sucks. But somehow, I mean, I think it's the rest. Like they just have such a strong IP, it doesn't matter. They can sell it just for the collector aspect. But if you also have a really fun, really competitive card game to play itself, like Hearthstone. Like Hearthstone is really fun to play. I will say that. I really enjoy the few times I've gotten really into a season, built different decks and learned the meta and all that stuff. Like it is a good game to play, and that's what needs to be figured out. And I think the cool thing that Ashes would introduce to a card game that no other card game has done is the node system. So
Yep.
basically, you are, you
So
know,
cool.
you are like as the player, your goal is to build up your node and you get different benefits as you level up your node and you get different battlefield advantages against your enemy who's also building up their node. I think it has so much potential. And I'm betting Steven's already thought about this, but if he hasn't, hit us up,
I
Steven.
mean,
Hit
I
us
feel
up.
like if that was my idea, literally off the top of my head, then like at the start of the conversation when we were talking with Truth and all of us when we were in Discord waiting for the test to start, like we were just randomly BSing about the TCG. Like the idea was everybody starts at node level 0 and you can only play certain things at node level 0.
Mhm.
And so that introduces deck balance. Like, okay, I don't want to have too many things that are like Metropolis node because it's going to take me a long time to get there. But I also don't want to have too few things for when I do get there. And so like that's that like progressive deck,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
that introduces the balancing to the deck. And it would be really cool to like pull a card and be like, oh shit, I just got a node level 3 card. I'm about to, if I can get there in the next 2 turns, I'm gonna like wipe his face. Like this is gonna be awesome. Um, so I don't like, here's the thing is I don't think it needs to be complicated. And I think that's why Pokemon has been successful. So the IPA, the brand recognition, that's huge. You see Pikachu, you see Charizard, you see Blastoise, like people just know. People who don't even know about Pokemon know who Pikachu is. That is huge. So that is a huge driving factor. But
Mhm.
Hearthstone as a game, it is not complicated.
No.
No,
Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, as far as the popular ones, are the most complicated. Yu-Gi-Oh is only complicated because of all of their synchro summons and sideways summons and upside down summons and oh, I'm gonna summon something for you and like just all of this like just weird shit going on. But Magic is complicated because of grammar.
By the way,
Honestly.
here's my first edition Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the
That's
days,
worth nothing
honestly.
because everyone got one when you bought your deck.
Yeah. If it's SD on the bottom, it's not worth shit.
Is it?
It's standard deck, I think
well,
is
and but
the
and and it,
thing.
as you rank them, right?
Yeah.
I know the professional
SDK
Hearthstone players
001.
like Hearthstone, they don't like it because at some level it's very random, right? Not just
Yeah.
the way that you pull, but this spell is going to do between 2 and 4 damage, and you're like, great, I just need it to do 3 or 4, and it just does 2, and you're like, well, I lose because of just luck, right? Because of random
Well,
number
but
generators.
so Pokemon has that though with the dice roll. So I don't think that the luck, like a lot of the stuff, am I going to um stun? Am I going to sleep? And like, am I going to poison? Like a lot of that stuff is tied to dice roll. So I think they just messed up by putting it on the card rather than making it a dice roll. Because I feel like it feels worse putting it on the card. Whereas if you like actually roll, it's like, ah shit, I got a bad roll. But you don't see that roll happening when the computer's doing it. Like, and so you need to have, I mean, first of all, a tabletop that doesn't have dice, come on. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Let's
Why do you even make that?
let's get some dice. I mean, you're missing out on the accessories market. If you want a business reason to do it, like,
Oh yeah, first edition, and so at the end of the day, though, I think Magic is still the golden standard in terms of actual playability. I think it's the deepest. Obviously, it's been around the longest, so it's the deepest. But Magic is chess. Magic
yeah,
is when you're playing chess at a master's level. The rest of it works its way down until you end up playing checkers, right? And I think that an approachable game, I think you can make the game extremely approachable, but not necessarily difficult, right? Like not overly complicated, but approachable, but not easy, right?
yeah. And I think the big thing, and we've talked about it off stream, like the biggest thing when it comes to so where Pokemon has done it right is they make game cards like tabletop cards for players, and then they make collector cards for collectors.
Mhm.
So like the idea that we had talked about was like they need a golden sandal. Like they need this full art golden sandal. The OG Ashes fans would absolutely love that. That card would
Yeah.
have value. Like you do limited print runs of it, you put some rarity behind it, and you make it look pretty. And so
Yeah.
you got the meme, it looks good, it's a huge collector item, and you need to implement those kinds of things. If Magic were to start doing that, I think we would see Magic take the fuck off.
Yeah.
But they're staying in their lane. They have a really good competitive game, and that's what they're doing.
Well, I
And
mean,
that's
Wizards
fine.
of the Coast does both, right? So they don't really
Yeah.
care. Like they're like, we got one card game for collectors and one card game for players. The other big thing is to make sure that like it needs to go both ways, right? There needs to be certain cards that are rare that are also really good
Mhm.
for playing. And that way it adds that aspect of a little bit of a combination of the two. Um, I mean, when Ashes comes out and they come out with their TCG, when we get that Super Fane and Bardic card, full art, the three of us together, we've already got the art done. It'll be
Just put
great.
that right on there. If you guys ever see us at a convention, we'll sign it for you, all three of
Mhm,
us.
mhm.
It'll be worth millions of dollars. You want to talk about an NFT? There you go.
Full on NFTs. Um, but I guess let's bring it back away from the TCG just because we've talked about this in depth multiple times already. Where do you guys see Ashes going after this month long test?
Uh,
Do you mean in terms of content? Do you mean in terms of testing cycles? What?
I mean, all of that. What do you like after
like
this month long
what's
ends?
the
We have
roadmap?
no timeline. There's zero
Yeah.
timeline after this. We've always had timelines that even if they got pushed back, it was something we were looking forward to, right?
Hey, they're
Right.
learning.
Yeah.
Stop telling us shit.
Stop promising timelines you can't meet. No, I mean I've talked about this at length with multiple people, and I think that we're going to see a bit of time off, right? I think that if they were smart, they would wait until maybe late August, early September, and they would dangle a carrot. Come back now, and this is what you're going to see. We need more tests, and this is what you're going to see. But I think that we're going to be seeing this in kind of how we've been testing up until this month long, like individual days, individual like 48-hour segments of just spot testing. And I have a feeling those will vacillate between non NDA and NDA. But I still think, I mean, the fact that we haven't heard anything means that they are so far behind that they don't even know what's going on, or it means that they are so they worked out everything they want to work out, and the next big thing that they have to drop is content, and that's where I'm personally at least hoping they get to.
At this point, if we, I could see one, maybe one more weekend test. I mean, again, I think they, if they want to bring back their testers, especially if this happens after New World comes out, if
Mhm.
they want to bring back their testers, they need to add some content to it. Um, I understand. I'm going to say this for the fifth time this stream. I think I understand it is not a content test, but with what we have done, we being the collective we, Intrepid, the mainly you guys at Intrepid, with the promise of a visible testing cycle, you've also are showing people how how boring testing is sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I honestly think that this is why a lot, I mean, we've talked about it before. I only think that they should do open testing because they promised it. Had they not
Mhm.
promised it, I would prefer if all of this was private. I understand for you guys as content creators, like that's not great. It would take a lot longer to be able to start having all of that stuff. But from the game side, it would be, I think it would be better to kind of have the NDA still there, have like actual NDAs, and not just like by playing this game you're accepting. It's like that might not hold up. Um, but I think they need to, so timeline wise, I think we might have like one or two more weekend tests for server stuff. Outside of that, if there are still server problems going on and we haven't heard about it, I I don't, unless I'm wrong, we haven't heard anything about server side stuff. A lot of the fixes have been content fixes,
Mhm.
quest issues, horse riding issues, with lighting, like different, different environmental type stuff. When I, so what it seems like to me, and this is where the direction and the progress is important to communicate to us. What it seems like to me is that we are done with the server side testing. I don't know if you guys have that same impression, and I'm not saying that it's the right impression, but it's the
Mhm.
impression that I am getting from them. And so if that is not accurate, either I'm way off or you guys aren't communicating to us well enough what is actually going on. Um
Um, I don't
But
think we're necessarily done with server side testing, but I think we're done for now, right? Because they're gonna need to get people in and stress test the shit out of that. Similar to how New World
we'll
in
yeah,
their
no,
marketing beta should be done with their server side testing, but how many issues have we had with servers? How many times has it gone down? Uh
to clarify, stress testing is going to happen all the way up into and including launch.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
that's
We'll
not to
probably
me.
still have issues
That's
at launch.
different.
It's just
That's different.
that's
Like
gaming.
the AI ghost controller type stuff is what I'm referring to. Like
yeah,
that's that type of server stuff. Not can our server handle the load? Like that's a scalable fix. More people, more servers, less problems. A plus B equals C, hopefully, in that scenario, right?
Mhm.
Or at least getting to a point where A can be added to B and it does equal C. If plus B equals Z, it's like, okay, now we got a server problem here. Like, so to me, it seems like the my interpretation of everything right now is that the server side stuff is good. Um, so that being the case, if we are continuing to test the servers and they're not being communicative of why or specifically what they want us to do, more so than just go kill shit, um, I don't know what was this month long for. Like I don't know.
yeah.
Um, I feel like the more that this goes on, and hopefully they make me eat my words here with with the last week of testing, and they give us something really cool. But the more that the test goes on, the more it feels like this was just fulfilling a promise and not actually useful to them. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know. And maybe I'm being a little bit of a pessimist here. It's been a crazy week, so maybe I'm just unleashing on Intrepid a
I
little bit here.
mean,
But
tomorrow at 11 a.m. we've got Ranger coming, so
Yeah, so we're good to go right off the
yeah, good
bat.
to go. Oh,
But
ooh.
but I agree with you, Super. I mean, so we've gotten fixes. You know, a lot of them have been very surface level fixes. Those the bugs that I've seen, the things that I've seen have been little fixes that aren't even necessarily. I mean, those are fixes that I would see like in patch notes 48 hours after a game launches, right? A shader issue here, a weird horse dismount thing here. I mean, I'll tell you from my experience, there's a quest where you're supposed to bind a book on a table and then it all is going to end up fluttering away. Well, I've done this quest before, right? But I cannot get past the step right now of binding the book on the table for 2 consecutive weeks. So this little piece is broken. It seems like a real easy thing to fix, even manually, and that's not being done. So I'm kind of leaning with you, Super. I'm wondering if this is just as Intrepid tends to do, right? And this isn't a criticism of. Well, I'm gonna take that back. This is a criticism of them with knowing how hyped people are for their game. Like we're gonna announce the Alpha 1 non-NDA dates at the end of fall. It's the last day of fall, and they announce it. It's gonna be a month-long test. Sort of. It's gonna be 4 days a week for a month, which is roughly what you guys were doing before every single week. It was 24 to 48 hours. So, yeah, that's great, but I think they got to this point. I think the AI controller bug pushed them back on some content stuff,
oh,
and I think they
oh.
were like, "We just have to do it, but this is not what we wanna showcase. It's really
Mhm.
not what we want to showcase."
And I think it is important that, I mean, even though I'm being critical right now, and probably taking a bit of unwarranted frustration out on Intrepid, um, it's I do fully believe, and we've talked about it before, we've said it before, I do fully believe that there is content in the background that we cannot
Mhm.
see. I fully believe. Now, what feels bad, and this is actually the same thing that I feel about the New World marketing beta that we're in right now. I feel like we are not looking at the most at the current testing iteration. Like, I think for the New World marketing beta, I think we are seeing a version of the game that they are allowing us to test on, and then the live version will already have some other tweaks in it, because there's some stuff on the forums that are like coming up pretty consistently. It's like, how did you miss this? Like, how in the hell was this missed? And even from people I've talked to from the alpha, they've been saying, oh, this was fixed like a month ago, but now it's here in the beta. That tells me
Mhm.
that we are playing on a very particular build. That's what it feels like in Ashes right now. And I'm not saying we
Yeah.
need to be on the latest and greatest build because there's still internal testing that happens before it goes to the more public testing. And Ashes
Yeah.
public is, you can get rid of the air quotes. It is public. Um, so, but it feels like we're just playing on an old build because, like, that table issue you were talking about, that was fixed. The clicking on the plant issue, that was
Mhm.
fixed, but now it's not. And so to me, it just kind of feels like we're playing on a build that's not, that was more to deliver on a promise rather than, I don't know. And
No, no, I agree
So
with you. It's we're playing on an older build where maybe not everything has been as fleshed out as the latest builds have it, but I feel like maybe it's possibly playing safe. We can't afford for the servers to go down because we're not 100% that these new builds are super great, and we can't afford for people to be rubber banding after 3 hours. So we're just backing off. We'll play it safe. We'll give them what they were promised, and then we'll just move on. And then down the road, they'll be so hyped that we'll make it up to them. And I don't think that's where Intrepid is coming from, and I hope it's not. But the theory of they're so hyped they'll eat whatever they'll just gobble up
I
whatever we put
yeah,
out for them.
that is not what I don't think that is Steven's philosophy at all. I mean, I think that that is much more the Amazon thing. They'll just like
Mhm.
throw it out there at us. But I think Steven, I do think there is a bit more of a fulfilling a promise. But here's the other thing. I think it might be better to start off the way they did with this. So this is assuming they don't go back into NDA testing, right?
Mhm.
Assuming they're not going back into NDA testing, everything they move forward with right now is going to be not under NDA and forward to the public. The way I'm viewing it is this might be the best way to do it. Set the expectations now. This is testing. It just is.
Yeah.
This is alpha testing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's going to be a hype train whenever they release some new content. We get to get in and test that new content. But unfortunately, you go through months of the same shit while they just fix back end stuff, whatever they're doing. And they're trying to set a new example of, hey, here's this open testing. Here is this non NDA testing. Everyone can see it. Everyone can see our progress. But it is going to be like a month at a time of very similar stuff. Um, so as long like I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with fulfilling a promise and just getting it out there because they fulfilled the promise, but this once again, as I said, is testing. That's it. Like, so hey, it's better than saying, here's a bunch of new content really quick and we broke the game, and now we're gonna have to spend the next 2 to 3 months trying to fix everything we broke again. As opposed to saying, like, okay, here's a game, it's working, we're moving forward with testing, we'll add in content slowly, and you understand now what this is gonna be. So those who are still hyped on Ashes are still here hanging out, discussing Ashes, watching streams on Ashes. And yeah, just because New World is in and hype right now for 2 weeks, at the end of that test, we're all back here doing what we're doing now.
Mhm.
Even on launch, when New World launch is, I guarantee I'm going to do the same thing, guys. I will be somewhat dead in the Ashes category on New World launch. It's going to be fun playing with all my friends, hanging out, doing our thing. That's what I'm going to be doing. That's why I'm here for this game. Not dead, but like,
no, I will be.
yeah, okay.
The kids going to grandma's. Like, I'm gonna, like, we're no life in
Yeah,
that game,
exactly. So
100%.
we'll be and I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be streaming a lot of New World and all that, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of the gaming life
Oh
cycle.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and so I will still be coming back because I mean, Ashes, I think, unlike New World, will last years of playtime
Mhm.
versus a month or a couple
yeah.
weeks of hardcore.
So the way that, so I guess just before I go to the end of what you said there, um, and
I said a lot there.
go off on that tangent. No, you're
Ranted
good.
just
You're
a
good.
little.
This is what we do, man. We just talk and then just get conversations. We had no plan coming in tonight. I mean, come on, like
Literally nothing. Literally no plan.
Bard messaged earlier. He's all like, "So does anybody have any like topics they'd like to touch on tonight?" And I was just like, "I've been in New World and haven't touched Ashes in a week, so but we know how to talk, so I think we'll be okay." And here we are, like, how long into this now? Like, so, but I think what's and I've said it again, and or I've said it and I'll say it again. The the biggest problem. So I agree with you 100%, Bard. If this one thing was happening, if we were giving daily instructions on what they want us to be testing, I'm not
Mhm.
even kidding. We I can't go into detail because even though the game has been released, it didn't release us for from our not being able to talk specifics about it. But other games that I have tested literally would say servers are coming up at this time, log in, pick this character, run these skills, go to this location, like, and just and like the skill thing was so we can like use like the most insane abilities to try to break the visual side, like really stress the server. Um, but it was direction. We had a purpose for logging in.
Mhm.
And this might even just be a difference between where are you guys on the stream? Where do I need to point? Content creators versus regular tester and player. Is I I don't have an extra motive to be in the game. My only
Mhm,
motive to be in the game is to help make it better and to get a little bit of enjoyment out of that if I can.
mhm.
I'm not trying to monetize my playtime within it, and so I'm purely looking at it from, my point of view, which is that. And that's not to say that any of them is wrong. I think it's just different perspectives.
Yeah.
Um, and not having a goal when you go into it, even within test, doesn't feel great. It's like, so you just want me to run around and kill, like, come on, man. Like, tell me to go do something. Say, like, hey, like there's a hole in the map over here. I want 50 people to go jump in it and see if something stupid happens. Like, I don't know. Give us something, man. Like,
Yeah. Well,
tell me to
this takes about
jump
Fate.
in and just run around with the wave emote. Like, just give me
Thane
something.
Thane asked the question of whether there should be some kind of rewards for testers. And my initial gut reaction was no. But now the more we talk about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's gamify this. I
Yeah,
mean,
to get them in,
we're
to get the
gamers.
bodies
Like,
in.
yeah,
Like,
we're
super, we
gamers.
don't
Like,
have 50 people to go run over and try to fall into that hole right now. Even spread across all the servers. I don't think there's 50 people in Ashes right now to go over and run into that
well,
hole,
no one's in
right?
ashes because the servers are down. But
Well, because the servers are down, but even assuming that they're
Hardy
up,
har har.
assuming that they're up, but with the new world
no.
beta, with all these new shiny toys that are coming out, I backed off New World. I gave it like 48 hours, and I
Mhm.
was like, this game, I can see I'm good to lose my life for about a month to this game. Totally reasonable. Backed off, ready to go on launch. But there's some other games that I'm losing my life to. I've literally chosen other games versus being on the Ashes servers. So do we need the rewards? And what would you guys like to see those be? Like
Um,
embers?
no. I mean, and I know Steven's time is valuable. It's something I have myself and my brother have struggled with a lot in terms of trying to value our time as business owners or helping as entrepreneurs opening a business. We bootstrapped everything we did with the distillery. I mean, when we had a plumbing issue, we were tearing out floorboards and trying to fix it ourselves because that's how strapped for money we were at the beginning. Now we're looking at it like, okay, what is our time worth? How much is our hourly and all of that? But Steven did a really good job of picking out, some of these larger streamers and giving them, time and, letting them explore and have fun in general. But I think Steven just leading the charge in general is a reward in itself, right? Hey, we're alpha testers. Steven is now coming in saying, hey, we're planning to do this at this time. I will be leading the charge. I'll be in there playing with you guys. That's a huge reward in itself. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's something to leverage, right? Steven is somewhat of a celebrity here. There is that aspect of, oh, I want Steven's attention, or I want to be there when Steven's doing something. I think that's something to leverage. I think it's something to leverage as well. Like start bringing in other developers, other people. Have Maggie or Toast lead a charge. Have Autumn or Hunter lead a charge, and just be like, you have the freedom to go and test this, and say, hey, Hunter is leading the charge on this. We're going to get everyone together. We're going to go down this boss. Like, I had so much fun when we all gathered together and defeated that hidden Inferno boss. Like, that was a lot of fun. Granted, it was we were pissed at first, but it all kind of worked out. So I think there's a lot of values that you can give rewards to players outside of necessarily like Ash or you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Instead of just like straight, here's a cosmetic or here's embers, there's ways to motivate players and get them involved in the community. And it's something Ashes has already done so good at, right? That's why we love it. It's not like they've built this awesome community around everything they're doing. Um, you know, I've never seen a game that has so many involved people so far from launch. Like this is a community, and like even if Ashes fails, like all the people I've met, all of you guys, all of the Ashes mods, all of the awesome other content creators that I've met through Ashes, like this is a community I want to be a part of, and so leverage that community. Give cool things like say, hey, we're gonna get in today and do this, with these other awesome members of the community. Have the mods, have Z and Birdie and Fupo lead some kind of charge into something we're doing.
Oh, please let Fupo just lead something. Oh, I want that. I want that so bad. I want that so bad.
So
pure. But yeah, I mean, that's yeah. Okay, go ahead, Super.
Well, so when I hear like rewards for like testing or something like that, like it's hard with an alpha because it's you're trying to like in my head it's usually like a title, right? And I think Ashes could do something like first through or first, like to reference like first through the portal or
Rubber
something like
Band
that.
Lord.
Yeah, rubber band, like make a meme out of it, like knock on wood, like as a title, like that would be hilarious. Like, OG Sandal Lord or OG Sandal Worshiper. Just you could have fun with it. You can make it serious, whatever. But I think that's just hard with an alpha because then it's like, okay, I paid my $500. I played for a weekend. Cool. Now I have my title. So it's like, okay, now it feels like to me to help. If the idea is to help not just bring in more testers, but to have them be testing longer, it's like, okay, do you need to put a time requirement on that, like drops on Twitch? You have to watch for at least an hour or something like that. You have to test for at least 24 hours total over the course of a week or something like that. But then that just starts to kind of get in the realm of that it feels bad if you're just unable to do that. You have access, but you're not going to have access to this title. But I mean, again, I'm the asshole kind of hardcore person. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Then, oh well. It's rewarding the people who can. Like, sorry, feels bad, but let's go ahead and let's reward the people who can.
That's how collecting works, right? Like, if everyone could do it, you wouldn't be collecting shit. Everyone would just.
Steven has made it very clear that he doesn't want to go that way. Like, there's no there's no trophy system essentially where it's like, oh hey, you tried, we'll give you world first anyways, buddy pal. Like, no, go fuck yourself.
So what could they do then? What could they do you think Ashes could do outside of wait, right? Because New World's gonna launch, pretty soon here.
Do I need to say it?
Yeah, a month.
Do I have to say it a sixth time? Give us direction. Honestly,
yeah. I mean, and I agree with that. I think that 100% is the point. And you talk about having that motivation, but just some direction would be huge. This is what we're trying to fix right now. This is, and I get the concept of we don't know what bugs are there until you guys find the bugs. I get and appreciate that. You had literally thousands of players, hundreds of thousands of eyes on this game the first week of this month-long test. And if we didn't find the bug then, we're still probably not going to find it for a while. And if it's a small bug, you can fix it down the road. But outside of direction, do you think that we need a carrot? Do you think the Ashes community dangled needs a carrot dangled in front of them?
I don't think it's necessarily about need. I think it's about keeping the community involved. Um,
Mhm.
we're still all going to be there supporting Ashes. When it launches, we're all going to be playing. That is not the issue. It's keeping the community engaged in something. And I mean, we've talked about it so many times, right? And I mean, I agree with Super. Like, give us direction. It doesn't even need to be something you guys are actually working on to Intrepid. Like, you can give us false direction and just say, like, as I said,
Lie to us.
yeah.
Fine to me.
Yeah.
Steven,
My body is
Steven,
ready. Use and
Steven,
abuse me.
lie to me, daddy. It's fine,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Just
not
give me
like
a safe word. Just give me a safe word.
I just need a safe word. Same word as sandal tonight, guys. Okay, we're ready to go. But but I think that's 100%. You're right.
Yeah.
Just some direction, just some feedback, because hype waves, right? There's no, you can't keep a hype wave going. We've
It's
seen it.
not. Yeah, it's not.
Kickstarter. It
Yeah.
came up, fell off. APOC went up, went off, and then went down a little bit.
Went down
Uh,
way like a lot.
well, way down. The 2020 Lazy Peon video created a big hype wave, and we're still kind of riding some ripples from that hype wave. This
Mhm.
this uh this NDA being lifted, hype wave, right? And you don't need to build a hype wave and then maintain it until you're in your run up to launch, so that you can actually get people through the door, right? Because if you just launch silently, no one's going to know. So maybe this is just the natural time, and they're okay with the hype dying down. They're trying to get into the office. I know that as of maybe a week ago, Maggie, her office still wasn't ready. Um, and yeah, maybe they just need to get in there, flesh it all out, and just put in a good fall and see you all around Christmas time.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing, like, that I said early on in the show. I was like, are they really that worried that hype has died off and people are playing New World? No, I think it's fine. I think it's completely fine. Nothing wrong with that. Let people play New World. It ends in a week. And as I was saying earlier, I still think it's genius to release some new content, something to bring people back as soon as New World ends. Like,
Yeah.
we're all hyped about something. We all want something shiny and new. Give us another shiny new toy to play with.
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
Well, and again, like if like the idea is about getting testers, right? And having them be there and testing. And
Mhm.
when you they still have an internal paid testing team. Like Steven
Mhm.
has referenced them
They have
multiple
QA.
times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and from the sounds of it, they're pretty fucking awesome. So they're probably still getting a lot of really good testing data when it comes to content that they've iterated upon that we haven't been able to see. I mean, those QA, like, as much as I love, being able to chat with all of the different people that we have been able to within the live streams and hear stuff from Bacon and McPherson and I mean, I mainly point out those two because I think them being on were probably some of the better live streams that we've seen recently. Um, like, let's bring a QA tester on. Like,
Yeah.
let's let us hear from the people who are actually, like, I mean, that's what I imagine when I hear about an open communication testing. Like, let a like, let the lead QA tester come on and be like, yo guys, like, I can't go, like, I understand, I can't go into total detail, but like, we got some cool shit coming for you next month. Like, this
Yeah.
is almost fleshed out on our end, and then we want to release it to you guys, and then you guys go in and break the shit out of it. Like,
Mhm.
but again, I'm literally just iterating upon communication. Like,
Well,
it's
I
just
mean,
let us
part of
know.
part of that too is making sure you have the right person in front of the camera too. Um,
No, I want the wrong person. All the leaks. Let's go.
well, it's not just leaks. It's just about. I mean, let's be real. We're in the gaming industry. Not everyone is like us who are just like not all three of us are extroverts. We have a lot of introverts between, people in general in the gaming industry, I'm sure within Intrepid. Um, but also making sure you're bringing someone on who is going to be with the company long term, right? You don't want to bring people on and then they just leave. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
we're not going to get Steven onto our podcast until we've shown that, yeah, we're here to stay. We're not just like here and then we're going to bash and shit show, like bash on the game and leave the community. No, like we want to be here long term. And at that point, it's like, okay, now it's time to have them on or whatever. And that goes the same with a lot of these QA testers and stuff like that, of really making sure it's the right person, the right public facing person, and they're, a little bit extra, or they could be introverted as long as they're comfortable and not like super weird, I guess. As I
And
just get really
find the person
weird.
who's well spoken and can just, get out there and talk in front of the camera for, an
Nah, 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 nah. Find the
good
dude who
hour.
never shuts up. He always talks too much. Like, get him
Are you
drunk.
talking about me?
I'm talking about all three of us, honestly.
Okay.
We will not be
Don't
on
make
that,
fun of me.
live stream
God.
soon.
If I'm making fun of you, I'm making fun of myself. Let's be fair here, Bart.
Says the sober guy.
Right?
Not next week.
Next week, yeah.
You guys might
Next
have
week,
to.
super,
So guys,
super
bank up your
returns.
points.
That's the title.
So you guys see the hydrate thing, right? That hydrate thing is just for super. Next week, it's all for super.
We're gonna have to end like in 30 minutes next week. I already see it coming.
But I think there's a good point brought up that Steven hasn't necessarily like generated hype for his game, right? He's done no real marketing other than the fact he just talks passionately about what he has, right? Like he talks very passionately about his project, about what he wants to do, and he's been very open about this. And it's something that Raven actually said on one of my YouTube videos. Like, they didn't take influence from Ashes; they stole stuff from Ashes. Like, it's not stealing if Steven literally said everything he was doing, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a good idea. We're gonna do it." No, that's influence.
Fair, Ashes is stealing stuff from other games.
Yes,
and just implementing it in a way that makes sense for what they're trying to create. WoW did the same thing back in the day. They stole from plenty of games. Like, and so like, I think the word influence is fine. Like,
yes,
making a good product is taking a step back and going, what does my market want? What are the people that I am catering to? What do they want? Okay, they really like this from this game. They like that from that game. They like, that from the other game. It, steal away. Like, make something good for us. Like, that's what has us hype about Ashes, is because we see all of these good concepts from other games being implemented together.
Biggest form of flattery. Form of flattery. That's it. I think the issue is that New World did a 180. I still think New World's original idea needs to be a thing, which is a survival MMO.
Well, they can just, again, and we've said this about Ashes too, right? Is like, they once Ashes comes out, they could even bring back APOC. They could have their BR. They could have a dungeon crawler, an ARPG. Like, New World could make a survival game. Like, they don't have to just abandon that idea.
Yeah.
They can abandon it for the flagship, but they can always come back to it and be like, hey, we have this other.
But what I want is a survival MMO, not just a survival game. But this game,
I don't know if we would necessarily see too much of a similarity. Like, they would have to reskin it, I think. Like what?
It'd have to be a different game. But I'm thinking like the Forest, but you get your group together and you build up like your little village, and then you have hundreds of other people also running around and building up their village, and everyone builds up their own individual village. And now we have Life is Feudal MMO, which I still am so salty that failed, because that was like my favorite game ever.
So like Valheim with real servers,
Yes.
right?
So
Where you can
Valheim with like where literally like every like imagine Valheim, but like 10 times the size, and everyone starts out and like now you have a reason to work together in Valheim. Like before,
Mhm.
like there's no real reason to work with each other in Valheim. You did it because you were playing with friends and it was fun. But like you could do everything solo just fine. But now imagine Valheim where your civilization goes to war with another civilization. So it's like it's kind of like Rust, but a fantasy setting with magic and on a much bigger scale than even Rust. Like Rust is decent size, but I'm talking about, 10,000 players in a world with a freeform world that they can change and build up however they want. That's initially what New World said they were going to be.
So I don't remember the name of the game, but it was, and anybody who's played a lot of Eve or really big Eve fans could probably tell me. But there was a game that Eve was going to come out with, whichever studio what is behind Eve, um, and it was the ground planet version of that was incorporated into the Eve world, and what people did in Eve Online would actually impact what people would do in this not necessarily separate IP, but like just, you
Yeah.
know, next to. And so what the people on the ground were doing was affected by what people in space were doing, and what the people on the ground were doing also affected what was happening in space. Um, that's where I think a really cool secondary IP
Yeah.
idea could come in.
Well,
Um, and even I mean, even
but
within
Ashes can go the other direction, right? They have the
exactly,
on ground. That's all where you're
yeah,
going. But I
but
want to steal it.
just the
I
idea
mean, I
of
wanted to be influenced by it.
but like that's the cool stuff about like having a really solid, and this is, I mean, it's been very important to Steven since day one. I mean, the idea of this literally came from the Pathfinder. Like
Mhm.
the lore and everything it does feel very in depth and very like very overarching, and it would be really cool to see those things be iterated upon in other places with other IPs. That way it's like a full-on intrepid experience
Mhm.
and not just Ash's experience. Like that's where I
Mhm.
think Blizzard kind of fucked up is I think they should have, instead of trying to expand World of Warcraft in such a ridiculous way, I think they could have done a lot of cool stuff within the World of Warcraft IP into their other games.
Well, that's how they did so well originally, right?
Right.
I mean,
Warcraft to World of Warcraft.
yeah, yeah, exactly. They went from an RTS to an MMO. They could have, instead of doing Overwatch, like Diablo 2, that whole world had so much potential outside of just action RPG. And they just were just like, whatever. Like imagine like an action combat RPG. It was based in the Diablo 2 world. So basically imagine New World based in the Diablo 2 world or just Diablo world.
Careful,
Fuck.
This is a PG stream. You're getting me hard. Calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that would have been amazing. But they were just like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
no, we're done innovating. We're a public company now. We have our IPs. Screw it. We don't need to try new games.
You
But
don't
it's
have
like,
phones? Come on.
yeah,
Yeah, you guys don't have
phones.
phones?
It's like, yeah, let's just
No,
make an action. Like, and honestly, like as I said, I think Diablo Immortal would have been a great idea if they'd presented it in the right way. You don't hype
yeah.
up a mobile game. You just don't. You're just like,
You just
we're gonna do this as a
Release that.
mobile
Hey,
game.
hey,
Enjoy
we're
it.
developing Diablo 4. By the way, while that's coming out, here's Diablo Immortal. Done.
I would have
You
played it. I fucking would
Yeah,
like. I would have loved to play that
yeah,
shit on my
yeah.
phone. Just while I'm sitting there, have nothing else to do. Like, whatever it is, you're at work. You're like, oh, hop on, run a couple cow runs, whatever. Like,
no, it would have been a ton of fun, but they keep innovating and not in a positive way. They keep trying to push the bar versus kind of what we're talking about is if you have a good IP, literally make that IP and then just send it with kind of like little narratives off of that IP. So you've
mhm.
got World of Warcraft. You have Warcraft into World of Warcraft. Now you make Hearthstone. Hearthstone was extremely successful.
Oh,
It still is to some level. Like it was it was the top grossing game for Blizzard when it went mobile. For like that year, it was the top grossing game for Blizzard.
Which one? Sorry, I was.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone.
Oh yeah.
When it went mobile, because people were buying packs left and right. They were catching up. I don't have a computer to sit at, but I've got a tablet, and I could literally. I mean, I had an iPad at the time, and I remember sitting on the couch with my girlfriend, and just we're watching some. I don't know, The Bachelor Who Said Yes to the Dress. I don't know what fucking show we were watching.
Oh, shut up! You
And
know exactly what you were.
I
watching.
honestly don't. But I'm sitting there,
You're a
I'm sitting there
fan. Don't
playing-
lie.
guys. I love The Bachelor. Okay,
Damn it,
give
Cindy!
me
Why'd you do that? He was gonna give you a rose.
That was a give me a rose. I'm like, what does he give them? I know he gives them something besides STDs, but but I'm just sitting there playing Hearthstone on the side, right? I'm like running my Face Hunter deck, running a Control Warrior, and that became just such an easy, accessible game. And I wasn't even a WoW fan, and they got me in. And I know a ton of World of Warcraft fans that were way into that because, like my first introduction to Jaina Proudmoore was in Hearthstone,
Well,
straight up.
I mean, we're taking back to TCG, but I still think the biggest failure with Hearthstone was not making it a physical game. I get what they did with it, but they still could have sold physical cards in some way that were collector things, right?
Yeah.
You
I mean,
can't actually play Hearthstone physically because of the random aspects and everything that would happen. You just couldn't make that game work physically, but you still could have sold physical packs. So instead of selling your, 100 packs with the expansion for a certain price, well, you sell a certain amount of physical packs that would have translated into the virtual game and made like you could have played virtually, but then you have that iconic thing. Like imagine having that first edition Hearthstone pack physically.
Oh, yeah, it would be
They fucked up. They fucked up.
Between that and their the Blitzchung thing, that was and I'm a little closer to the Blitzchung thing because one of the two casters that was one of the official, there was Frodan and That's Admirable were the two casters, and That's Admirable is a good personal friend, and he told me some of the back end stuff, and it's nasty. He's like, Blizzard is not a company that you ever want to work for. In fact, in Axiom, we have a ex Blizzard employee, two ex Blizzard employees, Desi and someone else, and they've said, yeah, I would never work for Blizzard again.
So I mean, it's kind of going off topic a little bit, but when do we not do that? So the biggest eye-opening moment for me with Blizzard was when they announced Diablo Immortal. And there's a very specific market that, and to be very clear here, I'm not saying that market doesn't need like stuff to do. But it gave a lot of insight for me. It gave a lot of insight into what Blizzard is going for, and that is dollar signs. The mobile market, especially in high public transit Asian countries, is massive because people are literally commuting on trains for 30 to 45 minutes, in some cases longer, and literally that is their game time. They on their way to work, they're playing on their phones. There is a huge market for that in China, Japan, Korea, because their public transportation is really good, so everybody uses it, and they have to go long distances. It's expensive to live in the city. You go out a little bit, and you just use public transport to get into the city.
Yeah.
And so that to me, though, like it's fine for that. Like I think that's good that a company is wanting to tap into that. But I remember the reason why there was so much speculation on Diablo 4 is because when we saw the released BlizzCon schedule, you had the WoW time slot, you had the StarCraft time slot, you had the Hearthstone time slot, and you had the Overwatch time slot. And then you had another time slot that was saying TBD. And then like a day before, it then said Diablo. And so everybody was like already theorizing it was Diablo. Then it was confirmed Diablo. But at no point did it say Diablo Immortal phone game. Our expectations were not even baselined anywhere going into it. And so that they fucked up hard on
that's what I was saying. I would have played a mobile Diablo game. I would have played it. I would have loved it, I'm sure, if they did a good job with it, obviously. But the fact that they hyped it up and did what they were doing and everyone was expecting something else, and they just were so completely disconnected with their audience. Like, if Intrepid comes out and releases a mobile game, I I'd be like, I get it. Yeah, sure. If it's a good mobile game, maybe I'll play it. But make it clear what you're doing and why.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, we're making a mobile game. It's going to have a cash shop. It is going to be pay to win because it's a mobile game. People who play mobile games, they like this. If you don't like it, don't play it. The same way that like they've been very clear on the Ashes side, it will not be pay to win. Don't play if you want pay to win. Like they've been very clear
Yeah.
on what it's going to be. So I don't care if Intrepid releases a cash grab IP. I really don't, because that'll
No.
just be something that I go, okay, I either choose to play or I don't choose to play. But if their flagship and the thing that they've promised will not be pay to win, that's where an issue comes in, right? Like,
Mhm.
and it's exactly what you're saying, Bard. Let us know what it is as we're going into it. Don't surprise us. Now, New World got a lot of backlash and they got a lot of criticism for their cash shop, and they pulled back. That needs to be recognized. That there needs to
Oh yeah.
be a little bit of a golf clap for that. We will see how long it sticks, but there needs to be a little bit of recognition saying, good job for listening to your community. Good job for listening to the outcry and going, okay, we're not going to do this. It's the same thing with Steven and the daily login reward. Hey, you guys like daily login rewards, right? Fuck you, dog, bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. Like, oh shit, my bad. Okay, backtrack.
Yeah.
So I
But
think
it is a
They should
balance,
still
right?
exist. They
It's
should
a
still exist.
shut up, Thane.
Monster coin. Get
Yeah.
out of
Well,
here.
but what I was going to say is it's a balance, right? Because the vocal minority versus those who are fine with things, and this does come back to daily logins, right? I think if done properly, daily logins are fine. We've already had this discussion. We don't need to get into it. That's what Fane was referencing there. I think daily logins are fine if done properly, but it's such a fine line that at this point, just fuck it. Just just get rid of
Yeah.
them. It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the potential of fucking things up. Um, but I think it is that balance of figuring out what players actually want versus what the vocal minority is saying, right? And I think that's where New World actually fucked up. New World, for those who are familiar with what happened in very early alphas, they were basically listened to the vocal minority of these hardcore players who are like, this isn't going to work. We need this, we need that. And so they did a drastic 180 in their design of what they were going to do. And now they've done another drastic 180 because people came in and was like, there's no end game here, there's no PvE. And so they're like, okay, we're going to add in all these questing systems and we're going to add in like this PvE stuff for the end game. And we're going to spend an extra few years doing that. It's like, dude, just say fuck it. Know what your audience is, release it to that audience.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be the biggest game ever. If you have a really good game for the audience you were targeting, you have a good game. And that's potentially what Ashes is going to be, right? I want to emphasize this because a lot of people are like, oh, Ash is going to, and I think it has potential to have, millions of subscribers. It also has potential to have, a million subscribers or less, but very dedicated people who love the product, who are playing the game. That's fine. It's still going to make its money back. It's still going to make enough money to be, continue development. You don't need to be this big game with 15 million. You don't need to be the WoW of 10 years ago, right? You don't need to have 15 million subscribers to be, if you have, 500,000 subscribers at $15 a month, plus those people are buying cosmetics from the cash shop. Steven's making his $100 million back pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
they're like, you don't need to be this major game. You just don't. Know what you're going for, know your audience, and make a game for them and make it really good to the point that they're in there for not just not just this shiny new toy month, but years. Like
It's
I
the
yeah.
reference. It's what Raven just said. It's the reference that we mention in Virtue all the time. Build it and they will come.
Mhm.
I mean, Field of Dreams, that shit. Like, seriously, you make a good game. It puts some legitimacy behind your name. It's how Blizzard started. It's how Amazon started. It's how
Yeah.
Microsoft started. They started with something. Facebook. That's how they Amazon the company, not Amazon New World. Um,
I was about to say Amazon Games.
um, and you start with something solid, and then you expand your IP from there. And if your original flagship, takes off and it's something that's good, I want to be very, very clear. And we've said it before. We have some new people here tonight, but we've said it before. Ashes is not the WoW killer. WoW is the WoW killer, and we haven't really talked about it too much. I don't know if we're purposely avoiding it or not, but the most recent news about Blizzard is a prime example of Blizzard killing WoW. Blizzard is literally stabbing themselves in the neck right now, and they have been for what sounds like the last 2 years. Um, when they stop caring, when you stop caring about your community, you stop caring about your employees. When you stop uh, pr- um, um, caring about your employees, you start getting a shit game. So we are basically just in my opinion, we are witnessing not the start, but I think maybe one of the last nails that is required to knock Blizzard down. Um, because there are a lot of big people saying that they're not necessarily leaving because of what is happening, but it's just like it's the straw on the camel back. It's just like, okay, you've been developing shit stuff, you haven't been listening to the people that matter, and now you're a shitty company. Like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm taking my money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just too many negatives, too like
Right,
way too many
right.
negatives. And then and so do we as a so let's say there's some people out there that there's gonna be a vocal minority that are gonna say, no, you have to stay. WoW's still amazing, blah 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 blah. At what point, and this is kind of iterative back on the Diablo thing as well, at what point does the silent majority need to stop being so silent and saying, yeah, you probably announced this in a shitty way, and yeah, the phrase "Don't you all have phones" was super antagonistic, but I'd play that game. Go ahead and release it. Like, at what point? Because we don't have that game. Do any of you guys have
Yeah.
that game on your phone? Right? Like,
They've done
I've
beta
been
testing
signed
for
up.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
they've
been
done
signed
beta
up for
testing
the
for it.
registration.
And
which
actually, the
means it,
beta
Well,
testing has been overwhelmingly positive. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
when
because we'll all
Llama
still
and
like
some of
it.
these other Diablo 2 people have played it, they've been like, seems good. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rax, a huge D3 streamer, and D2 as well. I believe went like official D2. I don't know if he does the private server stuff, but or the unofficial server stuff. But um, I mean, he went hard in the paint, like legitimately. Like I was surprised to still see him streaming it. Um, and had very positive things to say about it. I mean, obviously, some feedback, of course, will happen with any kind of testing cycle. Um, but it's all just I want to play it because I like the Diablo IP. But it's starting to reach a point where I don't want to even support Blizzard on any level, even if that means I'm taking away from a little bit of my own enjoyment because I like I mean
well,
like is a strong word, but I enjoy Overwatch at times. I like the start of Diablo seasons. I mean, I played this first weekend of the Diablo. Like I actually stopped playing New World to go play the Diablo 3 start of the season. Like I think that speaks to my enjoyment that I get out of some of the Blizzard IPs. Um, but it has now reached a point where it's like, okay, I can't even justify giving you a dime because you are now just a shit company. Like,
yeah,
and I don't blame the people within it except for the people who were being dickheads. But I don't blame the people within it as a whole. I put the blame solely on Blizzard with a capital B. The people making the calls, the people letting this shit happen and trying to slide it under the rug. That's who I'm blaming right now.
Well, and so
Um,
it's interesting because I just the last it's called Project Diablo 2. It is a mod of Diablo 2. It's not the remaster or anything like that. I don't have to pay Blizzard a dime. All you have to do is have a Diablo 2 and a Word of Destruction key, which, I went back and grabbed my key from 20 years ago or whatever it is.
your battle
But
chest that's sitting in
yeah,
the bottom of the closet. Yeah.
yeah, but basically it's a mod of Diablo 2. The graphics are the same. It's not great graphics, but the gameplay is fantastic. But what they have done is they've taken some stuff from like say Path of Exile. They've added in some end game maps. They've added in some like really hard bosses that you have to grind towards and then like focus your build on to get killed and stuff like that. It's an absolute blast. And the new season started, what was it, a week ago now, roughly. And I just started yesterday, but I'm already just loving it. I started yesterday and I was playing a little bit like for an hour before the show. Had a lot of real life stuff going on, unable to really play, but like that is where I've been going with my time. Like, I'm like, hey, I can go back and play this awesome thing. And I support the developer on Patreon. So, like, I give them hit my $10 a month, whatever it is. Um,
Well, that's
and
because they have a good product. I mean,
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, let your like that's the thing that I feel like I think because of companies like Amazon, they go very quickly from um a nice positive resource to I have to have this.
hmm
How many times do you use the phrase like check Amazon or oh, hold on, I'm gonna look on Amazon real quick. Like like Google, it has become its own word that's gonna that could probably have a place in Webster's dictionary. Like
Yeah.
it has become a part of our society, and it's so hard to fight back against stuff like that in a capitalist system because it has almost become a requirement. And so when things like with what's going on with Blizzard happens, use your wallet. That is the best form of feedback. You can submit the most like you could submit the longest, most well thought out, perfect feedback, and everybody at Blizzard goes, "Oh wow, this guy put a lot of work and time into it." Okay, cool. Delete. We still have 1 million subscribers. Like, it,
Yeah.
in a capitalist market, your wallet speaks more than anything, and that is why it's also important to have other places to go. That's why I'm happy, and we've talked about it before. I'm happy that we have New World. I'm happy that we have Ashes coming. I'm happy that we have Mortal 2 coming, because it is going to put the pressure on Blizzard to stop with their bullshit and give us something good. People have literally been playing WoW because it is the only thing that is polished enough to be considered playable. Now we are seeing that that is no longer true. So not only are they getting all of this internal bullshit going on that they have, and when I say again to clarify, when I say bullshit, I mean the people perpetrating this shit are dickheads. Um, with all of that going on, and the fact that we have other places to put our money now, they are done. I wholeheartedly believe that. People in the past have been like, "Oh, this is the last straw for Blizzard." No, this is. This shit
Yeah.
got real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I think that once again, like we say, there's no WoW killers, there's no Blizzard killers except for themselves. And they're doing I mean, I can't think of another game doing a more efficient job than they're doing right now, to be
yeah.
perfectly honest.
Well, that's my biggest issue. And it's not really an issue, but it's something we have to see where things go because we have seen a lot of games or game development studios like Intrepid come up over the years, right? We've seen how they do a good job on their initial IPs. They really produce a product and a game that we want, but then they do what Blizzard did. They sell out. They do an IPO. I really hope that we're all trying to be here, try to be in on the ground floor of something awesome and new. And I'm not just talking about content creators here. I am not here because I want to be a content. Well, I am, but like the main reason I am here is because I am very passionate about what they're trying to do. I see the product they're trying to produce, and it's something I want. And so I want to do everything I can to make this successful. But I am worried, like any other game studio, what happens after Ashes of Creation is a huge success. Do they sell out? Do they become another Blizzard where they just keep abusing their clientele and making money? Or like how do you make sure that people hold true to Steven's ideology? How do you make sure there's no way to do it right
Yeah, it's
eventually?
it's faith. It's a faith based system. You have to trust. You have to have faith. And unfortunately, it's the beaten dog analogy that we heard from, I think, Asman and McConnell in that very first interview after the Peon video. Um, we've been beat so many times. It's really hard, even with somebody as dedicated to creating not only a good workspace, but also a good community in the game and a good game as well. Like that's like Steven's a triple threat in that. And even broader. I mean, again, we mentioned it. If I say Steven, I am referring to Intrepid as a whole. Um, but Intrepid as a whole is not just trying to create a good game. They're trying to create a good content community. They're trying to create a good gaming community, and they're trying to create a place that people want to work. At least from the outside looking in, that's what it sounds like. Um, but again, we've had so many of these instances of shit going south. I can't help but to think in the back of my mind that maybe Steven is the worst fucking person in the world to work for, and he's just, verbally abusive and I don't think any of that's true, but it's hard not to think that because we have just been shown that so many times. And so I'm really looking forward to him showing us a better development studio, a better lead person at a big studio. And I really hope that he does because we have been shown
Huh.
the exact opposite time and time and time again.
I mean, I don't want to go I do want to go on this tangent, but um
We can do after
We'll
hour
do it
tangent.
after hours.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, true sociopaths, right? They're
Yeah.
people that people follow. Like there are very charismatic sociopaths that will just they have no interest in you as a person, but you feel like they do. That's like when you look at serial killers, some of them like Ted Bundy, some of these other major serial killers, it's like they were so charismatic, people didn't even suspect a thing. And it's like I don't want to think about that, but
Well, it's
it
very
is.
common within business and
Yeah.
in very
Yeah.
cutthroat, high end, a lot of money at stake business. That happens. I can tell you right now, without a shadow of doubt, there's somebody at Activision that is a certified psychopath. Like,
Probably.
like,
Sociopath, not psycho.
or
Psycho
yeah,
and
sorry,
yeah,
sociopath. Yeah,
very different.
yeah. No, you're right. Thank you for that. Thank
Very
you for the
different.
catch. Thank you for the catch. Very different. But like that feeds into that. That environment invites that, and so that's why I think there's so much a concern for selling out to go public or selling out to a company like Activision or whatever it might be. Um, but we can probably talk about that a little bit more in the after chat because we've been going for an hour and 57
I'm
minutes and
pretty sure.
18 seconds.
I'm pretty sure both of you are like, well, we don't really have a topic conversation tonight. There's a good chance we won't go that long tonight. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Well,
Like,
I never said we wouldn't go that long. I knew this
that
shit
was
would
Fane,
happen.
I
I
think.
knew
Fane
we
was
were
like, oh, it
fine.
might
That
be a
was Fane.
shorter show tonight.
I was
I'm
like,
like,
it might
no.
be we might be light on content, but
Never happens. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. What we are gonna do, as usual, we'll do our outros, but then we're also gonna hop into the general chat of my Discord. So let me pop that up. All right, super. You got the shout outs here. That's my Twitch channel. I fucking hate
I
you. Fucking hate you. Uh,
know.
uh, So we're gonna pop into you got the shout outs for everyone else as well. I'm gonna let you do those tonight. Um, but yeah, we are gonna hop into the general voice chat of my Discord, and we'll just be hanging out, chatting. So if you want to come in and hang out with us, I can go. We hang out sometimes for half an hour, sometimes for like 6 hours. I think that's our record is like 6 hours. It's like been 3 a.m. in the morning where we're like, yeah, we should probably go to bed. But
Go to
I
sleep
think
at
that
some
was
point.
I think that was the Luke Council versus DKP night.
oh man, that was a crazy one. Yeah, Grumpy was there for that one. But why don't we go ahead and do our usual outros? Super's got the shout
Uh-huh.
outs there. We'll start with
Yeah.
Super tonight since you got the
Shout
shout
outs are
outs.
there. Super TCG here on Twitch primarily. I do have YouTube, but I'm not uploading at the moment. Um, honestly, the main thing I want to shout out is less myself and more the two guys in a bar YouTube. Go get over there, check out our previous content, especially if you're new here. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. If you liked tonight, um, I don't think tonight was a bad night, but I think we've had some extraordinary nights. Uh, check out the half tilt one. Check out the Zillion one. I mean, we have it broken down into clips. We have full episodes. We try to make it as friendly as possible. If you want to watch a 10-minute thing or you want to watch a 2 hour thing, so go check us out over there. If you like Pokemon pack breaks, every Friday I open up some Pokemon packs on stream. Every now and then, Bard and I will do a pack battle. I am getting a little bit low on supply because I'm holding out for Evolving Sky and
Yeah.
25th Celebration. Um, so yeah, come see some shiny cardboard, as Raven said. But yeah, Fane.
Guys, it's always easy. It's Fane.com. I've been playing a lot of the Tribes of Midgard, newly released kind of roguelite survival situation. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to be streaming that pretty much unless Ashes is up. If Ashes is up, we will be streaming Ashes all this weekend. Come check it out for sure.
And you're on my channel, Bardic here. Also got my own YouTube channel. Go check it out if you're interested. Mostly focused on Ashes, a little bit of Ashes versus New World comparison recently. But yeah, definitely go check out the Two Guys in a Bard channel. We are a little bit behind on getting clips and episodes uploaded. I've had a lot going on in real life, but we will hopefully get caught up in the next few days, get some more clips, get some more episodes, and all of that. But yeah, a lot of really good conversations, a lot of really good guest stars. Have really had have just had some awesome guests on. Next week we will have a guest who is currently undetermined, but I have some ideas anyway. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone. I'm gonna toss a raid out here to Daddy Steve.